This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about The Lady Eve from 1941, directed by Preston Sturges. And one of this movie's taglines, when you deal a fast shuffle, love is in the cards.
Yeah.
And synopsis. It's no accident when wealthy Charles falls for Jean. Jean is a con artist with her sights set on Charles's fortune. Matters complicate when Jean starts falling for her mark. When Charles suspects Jean is a gold digger, he dumps her. Jean, fixated on revenge and still pining for the millionaire, devises a plan to get back in Charles's life. With love and payback on her mind, she reintroduces herself to Charles, this time as an aristocrat named Lady Eve Sidwich. So that's it. So
yeah, that's the whole movie.
That's the movie in a nutshell. So this is a rewatch for me.
Mm-hmm.
This one goes way back to the old library days of renting movies on the old tape. This I think originally was put out by Paramount or something like that. This movie's kind of lingered on DVD only. There's no HD upgrade or anything like that. So it's an old balls DVD, and I think I actually wound up buying it not even that long ago because for me, I think this movie is pretty fucking awesome. I've always loved this movie. And so but of course, like I'm always like, trepidatious about talking about these things before we watch the movie because RJ will go into it being like, oh, this is a Jarrett pick, and I don't want to set.
We all know how bad those are.
We don't want to set anything up too much for RJ's disappointment, so I try. I'm going to from now on keep those things under my hat as much as I can. But yeah, no, I think this movie is fantastic, and for I guess a couple of reasons. Number one, the dialogue is incredible. I think the script for this movie is just like amazing. I was when I watched it this time, I actually turned on the subtitles because sometimes like with these like 30s 40s movies, like the dialogue is like not the most well recorded, and it's like this kind of like high pitched warbleness to it that's just like a limitation of the technology of the time. So, and particularly when you have all your characters talking in this sort of like transcontinental accent that was like of the time, the lines can fly by really too quick, and then you're just like, what did they say? And like you have to go back, and especially when they're making with all these innuendos, you want to make sure that you catch them all. So sometimes reading along can help, and you go, man, this is so well done. Right. But yeah, so this was like probably the third time I've seen this movie in my time, and yeah, I like it holds up so well for me. I don't know. I can go on about this movie quite a bit. I'm actually curious because I can just respond to your thoughts, RJ. What did you think of The Lady Eve?
Well, I'm actually trying to think back now to the last Jarrett pick we had that didn't bode well for us. I mean, there's the obvious Jarrett picks like Salo and The Night Porter and The Element of Crime, which are just embarrassingly bad Jarrett picks.
Well, okay, Salo is not. Let's not go too far here. Salo is not a Jarrett pick, but I definitely would have said at the time that like Night Porter, totally. Oh man, I remember that movie so good because I would have probably watched it around the same time as Lady Eve. The Bank Dick. And like Element of Crime would be movies that I was like I remember being quite high on, or even like Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie from last week would be.
I was gonna say Discreet Charm or Gimme Shelter, or all sorts of those Jarrett picks that no one likes. No, okay, I didn't even know. Maybe you mentioned you had seen this before. I didn't remember. So on whatever day I watched this, I looked it up and I just read the Letterboxd synopsis, and you know what I said? Hey, that's an Andy pick.
Oh.
I said that sounds like an Andy flick. So I brought it up to her. I was like, hey, do you want to watch this Criterion with me? She's like, what's it about? And I read it to her, and she's like, ooh, fun. And I was like, nice. So we threw this bad boy on. We were hanging, we were watching. What did we think of this movie, Jarrett? We both had a lot of fun with this movie. We both liked it quite a bit. Andrea thought it was really good, so I'm happy that I watched it with her. I liked it more than I thought I would.
Well, because you were real down on Preston Sturges' name.
Well, he just sounded like such a chump, like such an old bastard. But actually, we liked it so much. I was gonna watch another Preston Sturges movie this week because I was like, hey, let's watch another one. And I saw that Sullivan's Travels was his number one most popular movie.
Yep.
And then I was like, wait a minute. So I went to Criterion page and I popped it up and I realized it's in like 10 weeks from now.
Yes.
So I said that to old Andy girl. I was like, we better just hold off for a while because this guy's got that other one coming up pretty soon.
And that movie is kind of like the biggest influence on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Nice.
Actually, that whole movie is like a big Preston Sturges love letter.
Hobos who fall in love?
What
it sounded like?
Kind of.
We'll get there.
It's about a rich guy who decides I'm going to live like a common man and be a beau and living on the rails.
Undercover boss.
Yeah.
Gotcha. We'll get there. But we both actually really liked this movie. I thought it had some genuinely funny parts. It's like a rom-com, and it seemed, even though this movie's like 80 fucking years old, it seemed really fresh. Like a lot of the stuff that they were playing, like the jokes or the recurring like shtick stuff that was happening, or like any of the recurring jokes. I was like, this seems fresh, even though it's like an old movie.
Yeah, what you'd slot this under is screwball comedy.
Yeah, so like what I mean by that is like there's one sequence where at the party, dude keeps getting spilt on his fancy clothes all the time.
Yep.
And it happens like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's fun. Or one scene that was really good or really well done was when they're switching the card sharks between like the lady and her so-called dad.
Yeah, the colonel.
The colonel, when they like keep switching the cards to like a hot hand to like a cold one. That one is really good. And no, yeah, like you said, the dialogue is good. The comedy is good. There was a lot of stuff I liked about this movie. I'm going to get into that problem where with many comedies, it's hard to talk about stuff where you're in comedy for me without just being like, oh, though, like just repeating the jokes. But I thought this movie, apart from the comedy stuff, I thought it had some really interesting filmmaking. Like there were some pretty unique shots, like when the lady was looking in her little compact makeup kit, and that's their shot for a while. I thought that was really good.
Yep.
I thought what was it? Some of the filmmaking stuff is really good. Like when they first meet eyes with each other, like the music cuts out and there's like no sound. I was like, oh, that's nice. I was like, that's a good way to show that they're in the moment. I think they have fairly decent chemistry in this, apart from the fact that, what's his name?
Henry Fonda.
I didn't even say this. Andrea dropped this one. She had what I had with that other old bastard that one time. I was like, does he have like a mental disability?
Cary Grant.
Yeah, she was like, is he slow? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I've only ever seen him in Westerns, and I guess it's less noticeable there because it's that slow cadence of talking or like something like that. She's like, I think he's slow. And then later in the movie, you're like, oh, he is slow. But there's some cool stuff in here too where, I mean, if you wanted to dig deeper, I don't think, like, this isn't one of the reasons I liked it, but you're like, if you wanted to dig deeper, you could be like, oh, he like loves snakes. That's why he's falling for this stuff, because he's like into snakes, and this lady's a snake, and she's tricking him, and it's a metaphor, and it's Eve, and it's a metaphor, and it's like, oh, and also like, it's the Superman disguise, and that tricks people and stuff like that. But there was a lot of stuff that I thought was funny. Like, there's a lot of really funny lines in this movie for me. Like, this one I don't think is even a joke, but he's like, who's that funny looking dink? And I thought that was really funny. And then when he takes her back to the room, he's like, you want to come in and see Emma? And she goes, oh, that's a new one, because she thinks he's talking about his dick. And I was like, nice, sweet move. I think the lady is very charming and charismatic, even though she's rocking a mullet for about 80% of this movie. She's rocking a pretty heavy mullet, which for 1941, I was like, ooh, girl. She is. Roll it back. I'm just looking at some of my other notes. There is one note. I just said body humor. This movie has a lot of body humor, I think. I wrote Hitler because I guess there was a Hitler joke.
Oh yeah, because there's the bit where Muggsy puts on the thing and he starts talking in German. Who am I?
Yeah, that one. One note that I actually almost forgot what it meant. I said, "What a beautiful fatty." And that's talking about the guy's dad when he's walking down those stairs and he's clanging and he wants the food. I was like, what a beautiful fatty. And
he's got one of those amazing voices. The 1930s voice that talks like this. And he's like, what do you mean by that? And it's just like, fuck, why do people not talk about that? I'm like, oh, people probably live a lot better now. they're not damaging themselves. Like, they're not getting like industrial things where it's like, yeah, this guy didn't start out as an actor. He was like a longshoreman and he got hit in the throat with a fucking hook. And now he's like, then someone told him you should be an actor. And now he acts.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's
Eugene Pallett.
He was cool. Yeah. That beautiful fatty. And then there's
Horace Pike.
Horace. Nice. I love it. There was two other things that I really liked. Number one is possibly my favorite comedic thing is the double take. This movie has lots of double takes, especially during like the dinner scene where there's people double taking left and right. I love that shit. I think that's one of my just my absolute favorite comedic gestures, I guess. And then my last note is that horse. That horse scene is amazing. That's my timestamp for the movie is 1 hour and 15 because that's where the horse scene is. And we were watching, we're like, was this planned? Was this horse just doing that? And the guy was like, he's like, go with it. It's fucking hilarious. I don't know. Time will tell. But no, we really liked this movie. I thought it was good. I'm glad you didn't say anything about it because I would have went in judging it. And you'd
been watching with arms crossed across the chest and giving it the stink eye.
Yeah, wanting it to fail like when you went to Shape of Water that one time.
Oh.
Just wanting it to fail.
We still have to talk about that movie, huh? Anyways, So, I'm glad those are all things I agree with. The movie starts off with it's like, oh, is this an animated picture? Because we get this snake. That the snake also has arms and like the cartoon molester gloves, which are of course because it's a cartoon and from the 30s or 40s, so you have to have gloves. There's the great like bit where like it's Henry Fonda. He's leaving the island. And he's just giving all this big speech about, because he seems like such a dignified, good person. So he has to thank everybody in this traditional way. And this when we're introduced to like Muggsy, his like bodyguard, and like we see this exchange between him and this island girl, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, so long, Lula. I'll send you a postcard." And it's just like, like her like detached, dead face, and his like, well. I guess this is the end of the road. I'll send you a postcard. We'll never see you again. You were good for the time. Now we're moving on.
Just like all good relationships.
Yep. So then we get to the boat, and pretty much the first hour takes place all on that yacht, boat, cruise ship thing.
Yeah.
Where everyone is circled around because this man. Was he the Yale Pale Ale? Is that how it goes?
What?
Yeah.
You mean Pike's Ale?
Pike's Ale, but it's like from Yale, and it's a pale ale.
The ale that won for Yale? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. That's how that all unpacks.
Suspicious.
No. They don't actually state what type of ale it is, but is it not a pale ale? You're the alcoholic.
He does go on a rant about ales versus lagers and beers, I believe. So there is something in there. I was so drunk I couldn't even open my eyes, so I don't know what they were saying.
Oh, we forgot to mention that bit. So there's the great bit. I think one of the great performances in this movie is by Charles Coburn, who plays Colonel Harrington.
Yeah, he's wicked.
Yeah, he is really good. Like he delivers all his lines very deliciously. He just like he's so into he's so into the role, and you totally buy him, and he's smart, and he's ahead of the curve, and you never feel like it's a contrivance that he's like so ahead of the curve. He's like got all the dialogue down. He delivers it in this like completely straight. There's no like wink at the camera at all. It's just him saying things like, let us be crooked but never vulgar, and just like stuff like that. You're like, that's like, that completely defines this character and the whole like the game they're running, which is to fleece this poor sap by throwing this this attractive young floozy his way, who will like soften him up so they can and they're like not going to steal money from him. They're going to win it legitimately by cheating at poker. So and he'll like and make you butter him up enough that he's like, this will play out great. There's one line here, are snakes necessary?
I wrote that down too. I thought that was really funny. That's the title of the book, right?
Yes. The book that he's reading at the in the open kind of restaurant, where we get the Barbara Stanwyck play-by-play, which is like so good. Like when you watch rom-coms now and you'd have this like type of character, this scene would
Anne Hathaway.
The Anne Hathaway. Oh, I don't know what that means, but okay.
Anyways, keep going.
Like this is just like so well done. It holds up really well.
It does.
Most modern movies could probably serve to like rip this off, because it's really well done. It's got a good understanding of the characters. It's got the right balance of like cruel, but it's coming from a character who is like cruel and like very like breaks down scenes to like know what are people's weaknesses and knows what to do. Like it makes total sense for this character to be doing it, and they actually do a scene that like is really well done. So then we just get to watch the whole like putting down that hustle, like her like, because talking about how all these women are like trying all sorts of things, like dropping their like napkins. She's like, oh come on, she's dropping it. Skin. Oh look at this. Oh, trying to like catch those eyes. Yeah, we know each other, don't we? Oh no, you don't. And just doing all that. And then when he comes on by, the whole gimmick of Henry Fonda just falling constantly in this movie. Yeah. And just like her just smooth talking herself right into like, hey, yeah, you should come down to my bedroom and help me get a new pair of shoes. And I don't know. It's like so well done. It doesn't bring attention to itself, and it's just so charming. Charming as fuck. And
you're better than that.
But yeah, no, and there's this like the innuendo. The movie actually, like Barbara Stanwyck and like Henry Fonda, like you really do feel like you're like being seduced along with Fonda. Like everything is about like plays along with it, where you're like, wow, this actually feels legitimate and not just like the movie's telling me that this is sexy. Like it's like there's like,
I know where I'm going.
Yeah, to the bathroom.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Like they have good chemistry, and she's very charming and she's very believable. Henry Fonda is a little bit dumb, but like it's believable dumb kind of. Like I think that's one thing too that I think a lot of people could take gripe with, that where it's just like, oh, this guy's like so stupid. How could he fall for like these things like near the end, like the bait and switch that she does with the Lady Eve thing, not the bait and switch, but like where she doubles up on it. Yeah. Where you could be like, well, how dumb is this guy? But through the course of the movie, you're like, oh,
well, it's built into the movie because he just talks about she looks just like her that it can't be her. Yeah, that's like a big joke of the movie. It's like, it's fine. It's a fucking screwball comedy. It's not a fucking heady science fiction movie where it's like super serious, right? It's a goddamn comedy. Anyway, so I love Muggsy. I think he's described as a funny-looking gink.
I thought it was dink.
It's gink. Okay. So Muggsy, he's great. He's like he's that guy, the bruiser from like Brooklyn or something like that, or Queens. Yeah. He's the tough guy.
Tough guy.
Yep. I have a question here for you, RJ. Hey, RJ. What? How do you feel about perfume?
I'm not much a fan. My woman doesn't wear perfume.
Is that because you make her not wear perfume?
She has a natural musk. It's kind of like the water after you cook hot dogs.
Yes, I'm more familiar with the smell of like hot dog breath.
Okay, it's close to that, but it is intoxicating. So no, I was never much a perfume dude. Yeah, but are
your parents perfumers?
No. No, I
Okay.
do have cologne that I in times of
Wow.
special collations.
Have another
I
one.
yeah, I'm tired. I had a long day. I splashed some of that on, but no, I don't. I don't. Not a huge perfume guy. Although olfactory cues are the ones that you have most memories for. So there's something to that, I guess.
Well, that sounds like some of that fake science I've been reading about
I
online.
think that one's true actually, but I couldn't.
Yeah,
Don't.
I wouldn't believe anything you say about science. So as far as my experience with the old perfumes, yeah, my parents are both like big time like users. So I'm like I kind of grew up around that, and like I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, that's what people do. But like, and then like my parents would be like, oh, here's some cologne for Christmas. You should use this, and just like that's what you should do as a person. And I was like, I don't know, this stuff like stinks. And yeah, ever since like I've never like I live in a house now where no one uses that shit, and yeah, when I'm like at work and students come by and they're just like fucking soaking in this, it just burns my nose and the back of my mouth. And I'm like, I've heard some people actually have allergies to this stuff.
My sister does.
Oh, so I
My
don't.
one sister does. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's allergy or just like, oh, like this is bothering everybody. It's making my eyes water. Like, please go away. So anyway, that's like a beat in this movie where it's like, oh, your perfume's intoxicating, and like it's like being like won over by it. And I'm like, perfume, huh? I don't think
It's an aphrodisiac, Jarrett. You
Yeah.
wouldn't know about that stuff.
I guess
You're
not.
not a
It's like,
sexual entity
yeah.
like the rest of us.
Well, I know all about that panther sweat.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And then yeah, we get the big seduction, the big like what's the movie poster.
Mhm.
I think that's like fantastic. It's so well
Yep.
done. There's like her describing like her like perfect man and how she'd like things to happen, and she's like, I just want him to take me by surprise. To which Henry Fonda responds, like a burglar, and I'm just like, yeah. Or a rapist. Like it's just like good. But yeah, like I think that's like so well done. It's like totally, I don't know, when you have like two really good performers that like have a convincing like repertoire and chemistry, it makes such a world of difference. And nowadays you'd have, I don't fucking know, Seth Rogen and Mila Kunis trying to do
Yeah.
this same shit, and you just be like, no one cares. Just get to the next scene, get to the comedy, get to the dick jokes. Come on.
I'll have you know that they're well-respected actors.
You know,
Those two.
but you know what I'm saying.
I know kind of what you're saying.
There's
That's
two-
what,
yeah.
like what I said, where I was like, this movie's 80 years old, but somehow it's fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and as you mentioned, the poker game is awesome. Like, it is so much fun to watch, and yeah, it's like it's done subtly, and like because they don't really, there's no musical cues of like there's nothing like that. It's just like
Yeah.
the information is just presented. You get the shots of the close-ups of the hands as they escalate and get better and better, and then you get like the dynamic of them like trying to like cheat and out cheat one another, and you get that interplay. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I love watching good poker games in movies. In the con movies, it's
The Con.
the con. It's one of my favorite little subgenres. Man, I wrote a note here. You'd have to be such a turd to not love this movie. And then
A turd, eh?
you have to,
Well,
like-
I'm sure we're gonna have
Oh,
some fans email
oh.
in after that one.
No, we got some. I'm talking about like people who like. Oh, we'll get to the haters.
Oh, God.
Man. So yeah, what happens is Muggsy gets to the bottom of this flammery. It's like no one likes anybody this much. What's going on here? Because that's Muggsy's job, and talks to the captain. He's got a portfolio of known card hustlers and fleecers like of the such. And yeah, sure enough, there's a photo of old Barbara Stanwyck and the Colonel and the third guy. And yeah, they're up to no good. Henry Fonda's like real pissed off about this, even though at this point Gene is actually really starting to fall for this guy. This sweet kind of ignorant man who's with lots of money, who also seems very nice. And so he like says like, well, I kind of knew it was all along, and I was just using you. And then they leave on bad terms, but that's not good enough for Jean. She decides, I'm gonna fucking make this guy pay, and so she recasts herself as this Eve lady, and she teams up with actor Eric Bloor playing here Sir Alfred McGlennon Keith. You might remember Eric Bloor. He was in those Astaire Rogers movies we watched.
Was he?
Yeah, he's like the schemy guy. He gets all the good bits. He's maybe more in because did you only watch Swing Time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I think he's in both of those. He's like Astaire's like right hand man in those movies. Like he's just like
the drunk guy.
Yeah, and he's like
he's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome, and that's Eric Bloor. He's just dressed up in a top hat and a monocle.
Nice.
But yeah, so he's good. He's been consistent. So we get the setup of just like Lady Eve arrives. We get introduced to Henry Fonda's dad here, Eugene old Horace, stomping around the house with his many phones, doing his business, looking at newspapers and whatnot, being inconvenienced. And then we get like the big swindle now, which is a big soiree and tripping over the sofa, which I think is like actually works out really well in this movie because there's like the line that a Horace says like that couch has been there for 20 years and no one's ever tripped over it before, which is like really good. It's just like it sets up because it's funny first seeing him fall, I guess, like the physical guffaw.
Yeah.
But then you're like you get the payoff of like his dad's just like complete disappointment with him, and he's like, "What's wrong with this guy? He goes and studies snakes. He doesn't like have any interest in the business." He's what's wrong with him? He's funny in the head. And then I also wrote Hitler jokes.
Yeah, because it's well placed, it's comedic, and everyone likes it.
Yep. Then we get another great Muggsy line that also plays, I guess, into those those themes that you were referencing about this movie, where he's like it's that same rib on the boat, and I was like the same rib, and I'm like, oh yeah. Adam's rib, woman, yeah. How alliterative.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's little bits and pieces, but they don't like really mean a whole heck of a lot. You never see a snake ever again in this movie.
No.
Other than like when you
meet at the dinner party.
Yeah, you meet Emma on the boat, and that's like pretty well it. It's not like really a thing. It's not like watching like Bringing Up Baby with your favorite Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, which is like got a giant tiger like throughout the whole movie, where it actually is like a thing. This is like a minor version of that.
Yeah.
And then we get the whole second seduction, and just like how effortless like Barbara Stanwyck just like turns it on and wins him over yet again. She gets him to propose within like 2 weeks. We get the horse scene you already talked about, which is like so well played, and you're like, how the hell did they wing this? But horses are smart. And they're capable of great things. I know
horses are smart. Yeah. I was just wondering. I was like, I wonder if they just trained, like it was intentional, and they're like, we know this is really funny, or if they were just doing the scene and the horse is like, hey.
Well, it plays really well because when she's talking about like the thing that like she'll like be there and the horse will be kind of tussling in her hair, and then Henry Fonda will come over, and then she's like, oh sorry, I thought that was the horse, haha. But then the horse does eventually come and starts like getting in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I it's just I don't know. It's
good.
Classic filmmaking, RJ.
Classic.
Yeah. And then we get the revenge. We get like the big play of after they get married and she's won him over, and she's like, I've had sex with other men, and it really fucks off old Henry Fonda. He would not hold up in this day and age.
That scene's really funny though. She's like
the names of all these men.
Yeah, because she's like, well, that was like Hubert, and he was like Hubert. Yeah. He's like, well, he was Hubert's brother. And it's like Hubert. And it's like, how do you know them? And he's like, well, they were friends with John. Yeah. And it's like it keeps building and building. You're like, nice.
Yeah, and it's all. Is that the bit that's like all of Tannhauser, or does that come later? There's like
what
a
do you
bit.
mean Tannhauser?
That's the piece of music by old Wagner.
Oh, come on, nerd. No one knows Wagner.
Oh, no, it's so good. That piece of music, whenever it shows up.
I can't remember.
Yeah, you'd know it. Anyway, so yeah, then the movie, like, it ends up with a divorce, and it's like, because, haha, I think I got what I wanted out of this guy. But then it's like, no, she still really likes him a lot. And they're just talking about, like, so she's back with her old con man, and they're like, come on, we can make some serious money here. And, but love conquers all. And things get even more ridiculous as we're not exactly sure where Charles like realizes that it's always been the same person, but like he's I don't know. It's comedy. It's good, and it's like I don't know. It's consistent with that character of him being as your girlfriend noted, a little slow.
A little slow.
A little,
A little slow, this guy. He's got that Cary Grant thing.
Mm-hmm.
That extra chromosome somewhere.
Somewhere's half a chrome.
Half a chrome, yeah.
But yeah, no, man, I think this movie is awesome.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's good. It's refreshing, and it's light, and it's fun, and it's warm, and you don't feel dumb watching it.
Yeah, you feel like you're getting something out of it.
Yep.
But you know what? There's some people, some real turds that would think otherwise.
Lay it on me, dog.
So who hates this movie? Whose opinions are we going to lambast here? Anthony Bajarno? He just watched this like 4 days ago, and he gave it 1 star.
Ooh.
This was one of the most unpleasant viewing experiences in my entire life. I hated the nonsensical plot. I hated the characters, both their supposed, in brackets, stupid motivations, but also just as people. The last gag involves Stanwyck's character exposing Fonda as a sexist brute victim of patriarchy.
Oh, come on.
I was bored. I was tired. Every time Fonda fell, I wanted to turn it off. The only redeeming moment was the one card game at the beginning, which burns me to considering I was expecting more of them, and I actually thought I would like this after it happened.
You're digging too deep when you're talking about the fucking patriarchy. Come on. Also, this movie has excellent body humor. I really believe this guy was falling over and getting apples dropped on his head, and I don't think any of them are like bad. Like, dude's actually falling over. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, he's putting his body on the line.
For us.
Yeah. JP gave this 1.5 star, and he or she only wrote, "Christ, this is tedious."
No, it's not. It's not boring. This movie is like very entertaining.
Cecil, 1.5 star. This is from like August of 2013. It's way back. The Lady Eve opens with a hilarious romance between a female con woman, and her Mark. Stanwyck has to foil her partner, the equally funny Charles Coburn. Plans to cheat Fonda.
What?
Okay, that's the name of the actor. Plans to cheat Fonda out of all his money. Hopefully, it's not too much of a spoiler to say that this part comes to an end an hour or so into the movie. If it had just been cut right then, this would have been a pretty wonderful romantic comedy. But then it would have ended with them not together. If you want to experience something worth experiencing, just stop it there and don't worry about the rest. But there's well over half an hour left, and it will have you tearing your hair out and maybe trying to scratch out your eyes. Trust me, the second half of this movie is that bad. It's best exemplified by a scene in which Henry Fonda walks out of a train, slips in some mud, and falls on his ass. Somehow, a hilarious romantic comedy gets turned into a slapstick mess. It doesn't just fall downhill, it runs downhill like a cheetah.
Cheetahs don't run on hills. There's no hills where cheetahs live.
I chose not to mark this review for spoilers because I want to believe I can save the sanity of just one viewer. It's that bad. How do you rate a movie whose latter half is orders of magnitude worse than its first half? It's my belief that 1 star or less signifies that something should never have been made, and the first half of The Lady Eve was well worth making. Yet, I finished this film with an awful taste in my mouth, and there's no way I could give it a positive or even mildly negative review without rewatching, but for the first half only. In the end, it really matters that I was staring at the clock, practically praying for this movie to end for at least a solid 30 minutes.
Fucking person talking about orders of magnitude or whatever the fuck they said. Come on.
Hey, turds, am I right?
Well, it seems like the gripe with all these people, it's like, oh, it's long, it's not funny, dude fell over. It's like, yeah, he falls over. It's not like this major fucking plot point. He just falls over sometimes. Like, it's a recurring thing, but it's not overdone. It's not just, like, in your face. It's not like slipping on banana peels fucking left and right.
With sound effects.
Yeah, he just fell over. Come on, turds.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, people,
Yeah.
they're wrong. This movie's awesome. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's good. I like it too. I like it more that you never said anything. Because I just hate Jarrett picks. You're the worst. If anyone's interested, go to my letterbox and look under my tag, Jarrett Picks. Just the worst compilation of movies you've ever seen.
Yeah, but don't trust those necessarily, because sometimes RJ just like say this is a movie that Jarrett picked, even though I'm like, what is this movie? And I would never tell you to watch this. So there's as you say, some fake picks in there.
I've never done that. Come on.
Yeah. Any last thoughts you want to share about this lovely movie?
No, it was good.
Awesome.
Yep.
After the break, RJ is going to realize that his bank account is empty and I have all his money. And
what, all $8? Good for you.
Yup, I'm going to live high on the hog.
Ugh.
On a boat. On an island with snakes. An island